1, calling the finance committee meeting on September 25th, 2025. Would the clerk please, I'm calling to order, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman at-large Keith Larson.
Here.
Alderman Dan Barreto.
Here.
Alderman Edward J. Bug.
Here.
Vice Chair Carl Franco.
Here.
And Chairman Masiacos is present.
Present, yes. Okay, clerk, could you please read the next item for the minutes?
Item 25-0734, approval of the minutes from the Finance Committee meeting held on September 11th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Alderman Franco, second by Alderman Bug. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Clerk, do we have anyone who wishes to provide public comment?
Yes, we do.
No? Then could you please read the rules for public comment?
Pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, all persons shall be permitted an opportunity to address the public officials under the rules established and recorded by the council. Under our rules, any person may address the Finance Committee for up to 3 minutes with a maximum of 30 minutes allotted for all public comment. No person other than the timekeeper or the chair, for the purpose of maintaining order, may interrupt a person recognized for public comment during his or her comments. Members of the Finance Committee shall not engage with nor respond to a speaker during the time set aside for public comment. Staff is directed to follow up with members of the public with respect to any concerns raised during public comment.
Clerk, could you please read the name of the first person to offer public comment?
Emma Franklin.
Emma Franklin? Are you here? Emma Franklin? Emma Franklin? Appears she's not here. Do we have another person wishing to provide public comment?
No, we do not.
Okay. Well, then we can keep moving on. Clerk, could you please read the first item on the agenda?
Item 25-0378, a resolution authorizing the Director of Purchasing to enter into a purchase agreement with 5A Group for the procedure of a drive test scanner for the Aurora Police Department in a total amount not to exceed $170,000.
Commander, welcome.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Committee. Commander Bill Rowley, I'm the Commander in charge of Investigative Services Division. I'm bringing before you our request for authorization to purchase a drive test scanner. We brought this to the Finance Committee and Committee of the Whole in the spring, and under the direction of the Committee of the Whole, we returned this item so that we could do a formal bid process. Initially, this item and this vendor was chosen based on a sole source application, but for sake of further transparency, we returned that for a formal bid, which we did. This item, which I can describe briefly, through the formal bid process, 5-8 Group was selected as the most qualified, lowest bid for this process amongst the other vendor applicants, which included LexisNexis. And just if I can give you a brief summary of what a drive test scanner is for the purposes of a police department. As you see through your memo, with the modernization of a lot of policing investigative tactics and techniques, mobile cellular data as well as other digital data is long become the standard for a lot of our evidence collection and a lot of our real-time location of missing persons, wanted fugitives, and the like. One of the items that we can use to assist with this investigation is a drive test scanner, which in layman's terms is a piece of equipment that can map out the cellular network in our area. It can help us determine with greater clarity the location of a person or absence of a person at a crime scene. For example, I used this before. If the police show up to a scene where someone's been shot and it's your classic whodunit, we can analyze cellular data from that area, and through a strict legal process, we can take that data, write a search warrant for that data, and obtain real-time usable information from cellular phone companies and use that to either develop further leads into the investigation of the crime, or if we have someone in mind that we are looking at as a possible suspect, we can use that information to refute their presence. If we know that they were somewhere else or they were not in the area at the time, of the committed crime. For instances involving things like missing endangered folks, if we have known cellular data, for instance, if a family member says, my grandfather with Alzheimer's disease is missing from an area and he might be out on foot walking around, here's his cell phone number. Under an emergency and exigent circumstance, we can obtain cell phone data from the cell phone company under that exigency, and we can use this drive test scanner to see if we can pinpoint where that person is based on their cell phone. Just to wrap this up, none of the stuff that we receive via a drive test scanner works on its own, so it's essentially ones and zeros that we receive back. We're not permitted to interpret that data until we receive through a legal process, and that would be a search warrant through a judge to take that information and send it off to a cell phone company to get data that can be analyzed. We have another piece of software that we analyze that data from, but again, that data is useless to us until we receive other information from a cell phone carrier that lets us further process that data. Finally, it puts this data into easy to understand mapping formats for when we eventually go to court on a case, rather than try to spend hours explaining to a jury what all these numbers on a piece of paper mean. This data helps us put it in a mappable format so that a layperson can review the data and see it in an understandable and digestible way. It also creates duplicity in our court proceedings, so we'll collect data from one area, and this drive test scanner and the subsequent software that we already have can be used to validate as a two-pronged approach for evidence, which is sort of the industry standard. I'll give an example of when we seize what we believe to be drugs, we'll have a field test that will give us a determinate finding of whether or not that's a controlled substance, for example. Then we later send it to a lab for a secondary assessment. So we have two prongs in that case. For digital evidence, that same standard is required by the courts, and this would help us provide that second repeatable standard. Any questions?
Alderman Larson.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm curious, out of, so it looks like this is a $170,000 contract. Do we know approximately how much of that is the cost for the drive test scanner? I was just doing a little bit of research, and it looks like the model that 5.8 Group offers, it's not easy to find prices for like a new model, but a used one, it looked like it was running around $25,000, so 170 seems a little high. So I don't know how much of that is added services or training on top of the equipment.
Sure. And forgive my lack of clarity up in front of you today, but when I refer to the drive test scanner I'm bringing before you, what I'm actually referring to is an entire scope of work, which includes the hardware, training, the associated software that goes along with it, ongoing software updates for the 3-year period of the purchase agreement, and also court testimony assistance if needed from the vendor. And so that's packaged into a total scope of work beyond just a piece of equipment.
I guess a follow-up to that, if we were to move forward with this and we wanted to continue using this equipment, if there's software that goes along with it, do we expect there to be a comparable renewal cost, or would it be lower if we were to continue using it? Because if we don't keep up with the software licensing, it might become a brick.
That's great, and we also discussed that, which is why we didn't seek anything beyond a 3-year contract. Given the state of technology, advancements in technologies, it's reasonable to think that in 3 years there may be a version of this or something even more effective that's going to be out there. So rather than lock ourselves into, say, a 5-year contract for something, now during the 3 years that we have this under our purchase agreement, that includes all software updates. That would be a portion to this piece of equipment and its surrounding software. But at the end of 3 years, leading up to the end of 3 years, our plan is to make a reassessment. And if this is still the best technology that's out there, then we would reconsider another 3-year contract. But again, going back to how technology works, our suspicion is that in 3 years there could be something that's much more effective, and we'd rather have the option to look into that versus being stuck with something that's archaic.
Alderman Barrow.
Chairman Masiacos, I have a question. Did you guys work with IT on this while you were looking for this technology?
We did. We had brief interactions with them on the onset about this because this piece of equipment will not touch a city network, and the subsequent software is air-gapped as a standalone system outside the network. Their interaction with this will be limited. We have a person who's certified in this and has been trained and has graduated as a court expert on this piece of equipment. So that person would be sort of the be-all, end-all in terms of maintenance and care of the product, and then going back to the vendor for any maintenance issues or any breakage or anything like that. So while IT was involved on the onset, their ongoing support would probably be minimal at best. Also, we did talk to other partners, Joliet being one that comes to mind immediately. They have this up and running and they've used it, so we spent a lot of time talking to them to see about how that end result would look before we made a decision. Thank you. Sure.
Alderman Franco.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Franco, second by Alderman Bug. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Committee.
Thank you, Commander. Clerk, could you please read the next item on the agenda?
25-0706, a resolution authorizing the acceptance of a grant award of $4,033.65 for the Aurora Fire Department to purchase hazardous materials equipment.
Hello, my name is Brandon Mattson. I'm a division chief with the fire department. I'm here today to request authorization to accept a grant that's been awarded to the fire department of $4,033.65. This grant is going to be used to purchase equipment for our hazardous materials team. This is a no-match grant, so there's no financial obligation for the city. The organization awarding the grant is TransCare, or Transportation Community Awareness Emergency Response. We're going to use this grant to replace outdated and improvised equipment that our hazardous material team has with modern NFPA compliant systems. NFPA is National Fire Protection Association. They set standards and guidelines for the fire department. This equipment is called grounding and bonding equipment. This amount will cover the cost of a static ground and bond test system kit from Safeware Incorporated. Our hazmat team leader, Captain John Ross, was the one that found the need for this equipment and found the grant. He turned it over to Randall Stevens. She submitted the grant for the fire department. Does anybody have any other, do you guys want more information about this equipment or have any other questions?
If you've prepared it, I would say give you another 2 minutes at least.
What's that? You want 2
If
minutes?
you've prepared it, you brought it with you.
Okay. So I'm not on the hazardous materials team, but in my career, I've seen this equipment used one time, and it was on a department that I was on before Aurora, so it was a long time ago. And what happened was a tanker truck hauling gasoline it hit a car, flipped over on its side, and the gasoline luckily stayed in the tanker. So another tanker truck had to be brought to the scene. And what this equipment is, and this is the first time I've ever seen it, it's you essentially take a wire and hook it up to the truck and you ground that one. Let me back up. When you move the liquids from one vehicle to the other, static electricity builds up. And when you're dealing with flammable liquids, any static electric shock could be catastrophic. So on this call I was on, they took a wire, hooked it up to one truck, to the ground, so they grounded that one, they grounded the other truck, and then they bonded the two between them. The equipment, to what I was told that Aurora has, it was improvised. It was created by a firefighter years ago. Honestly, it was probably, a guy probably went to Menards, bought some wire, and hey, we got a grounding and bonding equipment. This equipment, the one we want to buy, it's made of, the wire's made of a certain material. There's a monitor to put on it that will monitor if any static electricity is building up. It's not only a benefit for Aurora and our first responders, but our hazardous material team responds to the region. We're part of MABUS 16, which is the mutual aid box alarm system that we help our neighbors with. So it's really a benefit to all departments and citizens in the region. And when I was on a smaller department years ago, when I had this call, we called a bigger department that had that equipment. We didn't even have the equipment, so. Any other questions or?
So move.
Second.
We thought maybe you were going to share something else from online or whatnot. We don't have, besides the descriptive, any pictures of it or any visuals on it.
I did not bring any pictures.
It's fine. That's my memory calls. Fire department always had the best visual packet in the city when I was first on finance several years ago, but it's not here or there. Seems like it's something that's needed, I'm sure, or else you wouldn't be seeking a grant to get this request to purchase. So we have a motion by Alderman Barrero, a second by Alderman Carl Franco. Alderman Bug?
Yeah, just to follow up on that, if you're able to find a photo, I'm sure when this comes to COW, my colleagues will ask, what does it look like?
Okay.
And I'll say, I don't know. So, yeah, if you can find a photo, just throw it up in.
I'll find a photo of the
And,
kit. Again, it's, it's literally wires.
Oh,
that,
sure, sure.
It comes in a kit and it has a monitor for it but, all right, I'll come up with some pictures in that, so.
Excellent.
Right, okay. If there aren't any questions or comments, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Clerk, could you please read the next item on the agenda?
25-0715, a resolution approving the purchase of bulk rock salt in the amounts of $70.79 per ton from Compass Minerals America Overland Park for the Division of Street Maintenance under the DuPage County Department of Transportation of Illinois Joint Purchasing Agreement bid for the 2025-2026 winter season.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Ms. Yakos, entire Finance Committee. Adrian Perez, Superintendent of Streets. Today I'm seeking a resolution and approval for the purchase of bulk rock salt for $70.79 per ton. Excuse me. Included in the packet, I have a exhibit in there with a graph. Usually I always get the questions of historical data of how much we've paid over the course of the years. I put in there pre-COVID. COVID, obviously, we all saw the spike in salt prices. Year to date, we're going to have a $3.11 savings, which is good because the trends per the graph and per the purchasing agreement is going down. This is a step 1 of 2 process, so I will be back again at the Finance Committee to ask for the state joint agreement, which we're still working on with the purchasing department. Obviously, as you know, salt is very vital to our operations during the winter time, which I really hate talking about winter. I'm not a cold person, so I like the environments that we have through the season, but it is part of the job. And we did reduce the number of salt purchased through this agreement due to the wonderful Public Works building that was built and the larger dome. We reduced that. Normally we get the 7,500 on the DuPage Parkway joint agreement. We went down to the 5,000 tons. So that's going to be a cost savings immediately for the city, and we project to do that same as well with the state agreement. I open it to any questions.
All right, thank you. Just want to make sure I don't want to interrupt. You're on a roll there. A lot of positive things there. You're saying a volume discount? Is that what you're saying?
It's a volume discount, yeah. Last year we were paying $73.90 per ton. This year we're paying $70.79, which is a $3.11 savings.
Because we have a bigger capacity.
Yeah, it just depends on how the municipalities or local agreements come in and how much they're going to order. But that's why we piggyback off of it. It also opens the availability for years prior to COVID, when we relied just on one vendor. Unfortunately, they had a salt mine collapse. That puts us in a very large bind if we're trying to purchase salt. So that's why we usually go with 2 different vendors, so that we have 2 different available sources for salt.
All right, well, it's a necessary evil. I say evil because it also ruins the roads, but that's why we also replace them too. So any questions by the committee?
Move for approval.
Second.
I have an approval by Alderman Barrero, second by Alderman Franco. If there's no other questions, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk, could you please read the next item on the agenda?
25-0733, a resolution authorizing an agreement with Humana to administer a Medicare Advantage plan for Medicare-eligible retirees for the period of January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2026.
Oh, Dr. Pudo, welcome.
Hello, Chairman. Can I start?
Yes, please.
Okay, so this is coverage for our Medicare eligible retirees. Just by way of brief background, most of our medical insurance plan is self-insured, but this plan, effective in 2022, we moved it to completely external risk. So it's a regular insurance type premium. The rate that is proposed here by Humana is $276.67 for one individual retiree. So if you've got a retiree, there's two in the family that are over 65, it would be times two. So the original renewal for this was the proposed rule is 21.09%, which is kind of astronomical. And if you're wondering why, the reasons that contribute to that, on I think the second page of your memo, there's a couple of bullet points. Medical claims cost increased by 9.9% in 2024. Prescription claims increased by 15.1% in 2024. So those are the types of things that were generating such a large increase. So what we did was we went back and said, well, what can we do to bring this down? And what we essentially did was, and it's discussed in the last paragraph of the main body of the discussion, we brought the plan from a deductible of $225 to $500, and then the premium came down to 10.81%, which is that 276.667. This is a plan that we would look. All the things have gotten better over the years, and you can see compared to 2020, where we are in 2026, 6 years later. We are looking to rebid this next year. We've just gone through a rather dramatic, I will say, large-scale change with in 2025 with our other health insurance plans, and we're trying to give the system a bit of an opportunity to settle. But we're ready to go back next year out and bid it. So I think that covers the high points subject to your questions.
Alderman.
Chair Masiacos, I have a question.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
My question is, the cost, what we're paying, I see that, but what is the rate that the retirees are paying?
It varies. It depends on their employee group, union, et cetera, and the rate that they pay when they go out at age 65 is then frozen for all time. So we'd have to go back. If you're looking for a specific case, we would have to go back and take a look at that. But I can generalize a little bit. In some circumstances, depending on where someone goes out and pays, they could be paying more than our actual charge. But then over time, because of that frozen nature of it, then they tend to get ahead. So it really does depend on the individual circumstance.
Right, that's been a complaint that I've heard, that, if the city's able to save money, why aren't the retirees able to take advantage of that savings? And that's a question I've been hearing over and over, so.
Well, it does kind of depend on the situation, as I say. Like, there are some situations that we've seen just recently where in 2026, where they may have been paying more than our cost, they're paying less as we flip over in 2026. One thing I think we need to look at going forward is simply to pass along the cost. Whatever the charge is, just charge that same thing. I need to go back with the staff and take a look at that and see what the implications are, but that is something I'm thinking about for 2027.
That would be great, because I've heard those complaints.
Yeah, and when you try to explain it to folks and you tell them that you probably will win in the end, but the other side of this is, think about that original proposal of the 20-some percent. If that were to have stuck and we'd not have adjusted the deductible a little bit, that could have been the cost, and that's under the system that we might consider for the future. They'd get that 20% increase. Then you'd hear a different sort of complaint.
Right, but not knowing what those rates are for each specific retiree is kind of hard to to know how much of a difference there is, so
That's true, because there is so much variability.
that's all I have.
Okay, anyone have any questions or comments? No?
So moved.
A motion by Alderman Franco. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Bug. If there aren't any other questions, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Dr. Caputo. Clerk, would you please read the next item?
25-0752, a resolution to approve estoppel certificates for the solar farm development at the Aurora Airport.
Afternoon, Council Assistant Corporation Counsel Patrick Collins, presenting these for you. Most of the information is in there. I will make sure to get the actual underlying leases that are Exhibit A in those documents uploaded onto the Legistar for you. What these estoppel certificates are for is for the underlying finance for the actual construction of the solar farm. It's in general, the bank wants to confirm with the city, who is the landlord, that all of the terms in the agreement are still there, they're all still valid, and that's what's upholding it. So it basically, down the line, prevents the city from saying after the fact later, well, no, that wasn't it, this was it, that was it, the other ones.
Seems like, is there a presentation of any kind?
No.
Something popped up on our screen?
No, that's
No?
the
That's
next
just
one.
a,
Yeah,
oh, okay. That's them?
that's the next one that Artie will be
Oh, I
presenting
see.
on the
Okay,
the electric
all right.
education, the next item.
Okay, all
So
right.
moved.
Second.
All right, then. We had a little side discussion. There's nothing new being added to this.
No, the
It's just-
leases are all
just
still the
based on
same.
what's already right there.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Well, appreciate that clarification for me. Then, if there aren't any other questions, we have a motion by.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Franco, a second by Alderman Bug. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Collins. Clerk, would you please read the next item on the agenda?
25-0753, a resolution authorizing the approval of an amendment to the agreement with MC2 to provide electrical aggregation services.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Alderman. My name is Arnie Schrammel. I'm with Progressive Energy Group. We're a local business here in Aurora. Been doing aggregation consultant and energy consultant and solar consulting with the city of Aurora for the last 6 years. I wanted to talk a little bit today about renewing the aggregation program that the city's currently in. Review some of the RFP results for traditional aggregation, review our price match, civic contribution, which the city is currently under, and then just high-level timeline. Just to back up a little bit, the city of Aurora has been in electric aggregation programs since 2012, almost continuously. There's a few months the city hasn't been. Early on in the programs, the average city home was saving between $200 and $300 a year versus the ComEd rates. About 5 years ago, when ComEd restructured how they purchase electricity, there really is no savings any longer for residents to be in aggregation programs. It's generally cheaper to be with ComEd. ComEd has to charge the same price for everybody. We're in the commercial industrial market that can charge different types of customers different prices. So one of the things we did was, or let me recap some of this. So currently the city is in a civic contribution where the MC squared is paying the city $103,200 per year. There's about 30% of the residents that are in the aggregation. The other 70% of the residents are not in the aggregation program. The residents that are in the aggregation program can leave at any time from the program or choose to go to ComEd hourly or choose to go with a supplier. It's completely up to their choice, and there's never a cancellation fee. Under the traditional program, which the city operated basically from 2012 to 2020, the city was consistently getting lower prices than from suppliers other than ComEd. But when we ran this, all the suppliers are above ComEd's current price to compare, which is just over 10 cents. Every supplier was higher than that, so it makes no sense for the city to enter in that program because the residents would actually pay more than with ComEd. So this is, the city's currently in what we call a price match guarantee, where a supplier doesn't take all the residents. They're taking roughly 30% of the residents because they can sort through it, basically arbitrage, what we call the good load factor customers, customers that don't use a lot of power, generally between 3 and 7 o'clock. Those customers, if they're on their own, probably would save money. And MC Squared came back and they said if the city renews for 12 months, they would provide the city unrestricted civic grant of $120,000. If the city renews for 2 years, the total would be $270,000 or $135,000 a year. So we're recommending the Finance Committee and the city approve a 24-month extension with MC Squared, which is the current supplier. And then, kind of timeline, the timeline really needs to be updated. We were trying to get to the September 11th meeting. And one of the things I wanted to talk about is these letters will go out. Last time, I think the best we could put it, the letters created a lot of confusion. At worst, there was a tremendous amount of confusion. This time around, instead of sending out letters to every resident, there's only going to be letters sent to the residents that are currently in the program. So instead of sending 64,000 letters out, it'll be about 18,000 letters to the residents in the current program. And the letter's been cleaned up quite a bit. It's basically down to a half-page letter that I can share with the aldermen if you want to take a look at what the draft is. It's not finalized, so if you want to change anything, add something, delete something, let us know. And with that, I'm going to open it up to questions.
Well, thank you for that. There's no harm to providing that on our docket here for the next meeting. It's always a question. I'm sure we're all unanimous in that. We receive a request from our residents to explain these letters that they get and are their service being changed. I have a question for you, and that is, so in regards to the support for civic contribution, is that based on the number of customers they have, or just the passing of that resolution by City Council?
Yeah, it's based on the number of customers and their volume.
Volume, okay. So theoretically or technically, the more that participate, the higher that number can be.
Well, they're only looking for good load factor customers. So, I'll pick on Kane County's unincorporated that we work with. Those homes tend to be bigger on average, the unincorporated homes in Kane County, than Aurora. So they're what the good load factor customers are, almost 50% of the available residents. So generally, apartments, small homes, as a general rule, are not great load factor customers. Customers in bigger homes generally tend to be better load factor customers.
But they're still eligible.
They're all eligible.
Right, okay.
They're all eligible. The reason the civic contribution is higher, or basically increasing, if you go 24 months, up 35%, is because the price of electricity has gone up 35% in the last 2 years. So that's the main reason the civic contribution is higher on the renewal than the program the city's in today.
Okay. Well, I'm sure your time is very valuable. If there's an opportunity to change and modify some of these dates for the next meeting, for our team to upload an update, might help with some other questions moving down the road with COW. So, anyone have any questions from the committee?
Yes.
Alderman Bugg.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I appreciate the fact that you're going to put this letter in, hopefully sooner than later, toward next Tuesday. And yeah, the letter last time, I predicted ahead of time in committee that my whole ward would be taken out immediately, and they were. The letter was very confusing for my residents. They called the number on the letter, and it really didn't get them the answers they wanted. So then all those calls come back to the alderman's office. So to save our staff time, yeah, we need a very direct, structured letter. If it's only going to go to those customers, those 18,000, that's fantastic. But of course, to have phone numbers that are checked and double checked that they're getting a live person and getting an answer to their question. So that's what we'll be looking for.
And we'll get this up and loaded.
Okay.
Here's a copy that you have. They'll also come electronically.
Thank you.
Well, let the record stay, we got a copy of the letter here for the committee. Clerk has a copy, she could help upload that at this point as well, so appreciate that. One thing down, so.
I have a question.
Alderman Franco.
So, in the past, when you sent out these the letters, and it was confusing, did anybody outside of your organization vet those letters? Did you, I mean, the reason I would ask that, it would be nice if somebody in communications from the city took a look at it, because I think when you guys send out a letter, you probably have a certain way of looking at things. They look at it from a person that knows nothing about anything, and they will absorb it and says, you know what, I think you need to change this. Just an extra set of eyes. So when people look at it, they're like, I get it, but maybe you guys send it out because you know so much that, you know what I'm saying? It's not, I wouldn't say it's dumbing it down, but it's making it more commonsensical to the average person. That's why I would say, do we go to the city with that at all?
We did.
Okay.
The mayor's office 2 years ago, AA and AV and their staff approved the letter. It was more complicated because there was 5 different types of letters, but I mean, you and I talked 2 years
yeah,
ago,
sure.
and you gave me a lot of suggestions that I think we've incorporated most of those suggestions in. But again, you know, if you got more suggestions or comments, please let us know. You know your residents
Sure.
better
And I-
than we
yeah,
do.
And I say that because we do, and we know how to communicate as a group with them, so that's probably our expertise compared to what you guys do. You're more into the substantial stuff, we're more in the communication process, so it's good when you do that. And it just makes for a better project down the road. That's why I mentioned that. Okay, thank
This
you.
is on, the letter presented to us is on City of Aurora letterhead, so I'd be very surprised if the city administrative staff hasn't looked at it already as well. So if there are any other questions, Alderman.
Yeah, just
Larson.
one quick one. I just want to double check if this letter would go out in Spanish as well, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. It's both versions.
All right, Alderman Bug.
No.
And do I have if there aren't any other questions or comments, is
So
there a
moved.
motion to approve?
So moved.
Alderman Franco made motions, or a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Dan All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Clerk, could you please read the next item on the agenda?
25-0754, a resolution authorizing the city treasurer to consent to the mortgage of the leasehold interest of TD Hangar, Inc. at the Aurora Municipal Airport.
Mr. Collins.
Good afternoon, Committee, Patrick Collins, Assistant Corporation Counsel. This was the gentleman who was here last time and gave public comment about his leasehold mortgage. This is just a standard agreement the city entered into, that the city owns all the property out at the airport. Our tenant will be building a hangar, and this is our agreement between the bank and the city to allow that development.
I figure that any discrepancy in communication has been resolved, obviously, since it's here today.
Yep.
Because the gentleman is not back here today, so I'm figuring
No.
he's... Please, come on up. I'm just coming up, state your name, if you're associated with a firm or company.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Ma'am, my name is Dave Faville. I'm the corporate secretary for TD Hangar LLC. So just overseeing the project construction. Once again, it's just trying to enter into mortgage with Old Second Bank. Been doing business out at Aurora Airport for since the early 80s, and in business for about 100 years now. So it's storage of corporate aircraft, and just building purely for that use.
Just 100 years.
Yep.
All right. Alderman Bug?
No, I'm good.
No, no questions? Anyone have questions or comments? No? All right. Hearing none,
Second.
we have a motion by Alderman Franco, a second by Alderman Dan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Clerk, could you please read
Thank
the next item on the agenda? You're welcome.
25-0732, a resolution authorizing Sun Life Insurance to provide life insurance services for January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2026.
Who is here from staff? All right, Dr. Caputo, welcome once again.
Yes, sir. Brian Caputo, Director of Operations Management. This item is basically for employer-paid life insurance with Sun Life. So we have two pieces of this. One is the basic life and accidental death and disability, which our employees are given for 1 times up to their salary. And then another piece that is for retiree basic, which is $5,000 per retiree, up to age 65. And you'll notice from the chart that's on the first page of the cover memo that the insurer, Sun Life, is looking to maintain the same rate from 24 to 25, which caused us not to pursue other markets. That is by far the bulk of the cost. That is about $12,000 a month to the city in total when you take all of the coverages and whatnot. The other, where there was an increase, you'll see from essentially nickel per thousand to 7.5 cents thereabouts. That's very small amount of coverage. It costs the city about $125 a month, so it's not of major concern. But we do expect to be rebidding this next year. We held it for 1 more year because of the rate guarantee or rate hold on the basic life for employees. But it's time to go for 2027. So I submit that for your consideration.
All right, thank you, Dr. Caputo. Any questions or comments?
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Dan Barrero, second by Alderman Carl Franco. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
I think I have the next one, I think.
Okay, I was going to ask if staff is ready, so Clerk, could you please read the next item on the agenda? On that hold item.
25-0693, a resolution authorizing agreement for administrative services with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois for HMO, PPO, and Value HAS Group Health and Stop Loss Plan Administration for period January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2026.
Dr. Caputo.
So this is individual stop loss for essentially all of our medical plans for 2026. With the prior item where I talked about Medicare being totally external risk, this part of the plan starts with mostly internal risk. So we're self-insuring for these various plans, but we don't want to be completely without coverage for very large claims. So what this is coverage that kicks in for those large claims. And you can see you can see on the second, I think it's on the second page of in the past, what types of claims would have been in excess of $325,000 up to $375,000. Why that is there is that if we had, what we're proposing to do is to renew essentially with Blue Cross Blue Shield. For the employee portion of the plan, we went to Blue Cross just last year. So we're really careful about the service disruption going out again for another medical insurer. But really what's keeping us here is that with the HMO, there are 3-year commitments associated with that HMO coverage. This is part of it. We could have broken this coverage off and rebid it, but particularly for the PPO side. But if we had done that, those various commitments on the HMO would have been broken. We'd have kind of been restarting of various elements of the plan. So what we're proposing to do is to keep the rates down. Here again, it's a situation where we adjusted the thresholds. The threshold where this is going to kick in is $375,000. The current year where this coverage kicks in is at $325,000. If we'd stayed at the 325 number, we would have had a large renewal, again, 23.9% would have been huge. So by increasing that threshold where our coverage kicks in, it's a 3.7% increase, much more palatable. And then if you look at that chart on the second page where we had those claims that would have pierced that 325 and been under the 375, what would have the outcomes would have been? Well, the short story is, even if we had raised it in prior years, we would have won, so to speak, the risk. The savings that would have taken place in those prior years, what we paid in premiums versus what would have been the cost of the claims. So this is I think is a good move. If you're looking for the specific rates, they are toward the bottom of the recommendations there. The HMO per employee per month of $70.58 versus the PPO cost of $40.89. So I recommend your approval on this. I think it will be good for the plans. And this one, again, we have one more year left. We'll probably be in this same situation on the HMO guarantees. We've got 1 year left, so we probably won't bid this out for 2027, but I expect that we would go out again in 2028.
Are you finished, Dr.
I am
Bruno?
finished,
All
sir.
right, okay. Well, any questions or comments by the committee?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Carl Franco, second by Alderman Dan Barrero. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion passes 5-0. There is no need for a closed session here this afternoon.
Motion to adjourn.
Being no further business coming before the Finance Committee, we have a
Second.
motion to adjourn by Alderman Franco, second by Alderman Dan Barrero. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 5-0. We are adjourning at 3:49. Thank you, one and all.